Joining us now is the man himself, Chris Murphy, senator from the great state of Connecticut. Senator Murphy, thank you for being with us tonight. Can you tell me what you want to do in this bill?
Well, what we want to do is very simple. We want to make sure that every judge who sits on a federal bench has a code of conduct that the American people can see that applies to them. As you mentioned, right now, there are only 9 justices that have no code of conduct. That's outrageous, especially at a moment where we're seeing this rather outlandish and transparent integration between the conservative justices on the court and the broader conservative movement. You mentioned this case in which there's a really serious allegation that Justice Alito or one of his family members told conservative activists ahead of time about a contraception decision. The court said, well, there's no evidence that there was an ethical standard breached. What ethical standard? There is no set of standards that applies to the Supreme Court. They are exempt. And so what we're calling for here is an independent body that already exists, the Judicial Conference, to set up a code of conduct that will probably look very much like what appellate court judges and district court judges are held to. So at the very least, we know what rules apply and what rules don't apply to the Supreme Court. I just think we're at a moment of real of a crisis of legitimacy when it comes to the court. And I think the court would be helped by having this code of conduct that everybody can see.
So if someone on the court violates the code of ethics, is there punishment? I mean, what kind of enforcement mechanism do you see here?
Yeah, so this is the real problem, right? I mean, it is probably beyond the bounds of the legislative branch to provide an enforcement mechanism. In our bill, we would establish a form of independent counsel who could undertake investigations. But sanction would ultimately have to be up to the Supreme Court itself, just like sanction of members of Congress is ultimately up to Congress. But we have a code of ethics. We have a process by which an investigation is done on a member of Congress. And that's simply what we want to happen here. Have a binding code, have a process of investigation, and then when that investigation is done and the American public can see it, that will provide pressure on the justices to take action if the code has been violated.
What kind of intel do you have on the court's argument against something like this?
Well, here's a theory of the case. Because we've had this remarkable reporting in which the Supreme Court apparently has been talking about developing a code for 4 years. And so clearly there's a group of justices who think this is a good idea, and there's a group of justices who think it's not a good idea. Justice Roberts, Justice Alito, they've testified before Congress in the past about their disdain or their skepticism about this code. My worry is that the conservative justices on the court don't really think they're judges. They don't think they should be bound by the same code of conduct as every other federal court judge because they're policymakers, not judges. They're making law, not interpreting law. The new justices, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Coney Barrett, they ran campaigns for the Supreme Court, just like we run campaigns for elected office in the legislature. So my worry is that they don't believe they should be bound by the code that every other justice is bound by because they think they are not judges. They believe they are policymakers.
Well, and I think there are probably people in the GOP that enjoy the fact that they're making law, right? They're effectively the functioning branch of the Republican Party in a lot of ways. The Republicans in the legislature are busy having hearings about, COVID coming from Mars or wherever. And the Republicans, the conservative justices on the court, are actually crafting law. And I would imagine that the Republican caucus is probably loath to do anything that would curb that kind of their ability to do something like that. Do you have a sense that there's any kind of bipartisan support for what you're proposing here?
Well, this has been the very clear strategy from the beginning, just to underscore your point. What Republicans want for America, it's deeply unpopular, whether it be the invalidation of the Affordable Care Act or a ban on abortion. These are things that you can't get passed through an elected legislature. The only way you can impose that agenda on the country is through an unelected body like the Supreme Court. So, yes, of course, the whole strategy is to put the policymakers on the Supreme Court because the policies are so unpopular that they can't move through the elected elected branch. Listen, I think Republicans should care about this as well. There's smaller bits of evidence that the more progressive justices are, sometimes attending these political conferences that the conservative justices more often go to. But it's just bad for the ultimate legitimacy of democracy if everybody thinks the fix is in at the Supreme Court. Lindsey Graham has expressed some interest in proposals like this, and we'll continue to try to find some partners across the aisle. But right now, as you said, Republicans seem to like the fact that a lot of policymaking without much oversight is happening on the Supreme Court.